history is often painted with broad strokes of heroism and grandeur. But beneath the surface of many celebrated figures lies a tapestry of controversy, scandal, and moral ambiguity. Let's start the video and embark on a journey through time to uncover the lesser-known, darker facets of some of history's most renowned individuals. First, Christopher Columbus. Did you know that Columbus's discovery of the New World wasn't as heroic as we've been taught in school? Sure, he's seen as the trailblazer of European exploration, but his legacy is far from spotless. While Columbus himself believed he was simply opening up a new world to Christianity and civilization, the indigenous people of the Caribbean had a different story to tell. Columbus's voyages began a period of violent colonization, during which entire populations of Native Americans were either wiped out through disease, forced labor, or direct violence. Columbus's reign as governor of Hispaniola was rife with cruelty. 2. Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison, the Wizard of Menlo Park, credited with bringing electric light to the world. But behind that iconic image lies a man who wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty in business. And we're not just talking about his laboratory experiments. Edison's battle with Nikola Tesla, the true pioneer of alternating current, turned into what's often called the War of Currents. While Tesla dreamed of a world where electricity was shared safely and efficiently, Edison sought to discredit him in the most underhanded ways. His ruthless business practices earned him both admiration for his inventiveness and disdain for his cutthroat strategies. So, the next time you flip a light switch, remember Edison's brilliance was matched only by his willingness to sabotage those who challenged him. 3. Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa, a name synonymous with selflessness, charity, and compassion. Or is it? While we all remember the image of her caring for the poor and sick in Calcutta, new reports and investigations have called into question the true nature of her charity work. Yes, she received international acclaim for her tireless service, but what's often overlooked is the criticism of her organization, the Missionaries of Charity. Investigations by journalists and medical experts revealed that the facilities she ran often provided subpar care, with a lack of proper medical attention, sterile conditions, or pain management. It was argued that Mother Teresa believed suffering was a form of spiritual purification, and that her mission was more about fostering devotion to God than providing comfort and healing. 4th, George Villiers, 1st Duke of Buckingham. George Villiers, 1st Duke of Buckingham, was not your average nobleman. He was known as the king's favorite in the court of King James I, wielding significant political influence. But while he basked in royal favor, his legacy was far from pristine. Buckingham's involvement in military affairs during the 30 Years' War was disastrous. His failed leadership in the ill-fated Cadiz expedition in 1625, which was meant to strike at Spanish territories, ended in a humiliating defeat for England. Even more tragic was his role in the failed attempt to relieve the Huguenot stronghold of La Rochelle, which led to disastrous losses for England and a tarnished reputation. On top of that, Buckingham's arrogant and lavish lifestyle fueled resentment among the nobility, and his flirtations with royal power only served to deepen the animosity. 5. Catherine the Great. Catherine the Great, the name that evokes visions of imperial glory, culture, and enlightenment. But behind her successful reign lay a darker side that some historians can't ignore. Catherine rose to power not through bloodline, but through a well-orchestrated coup against her husband, Emperor Peter III. The young empress had him deposed and imprisoned under mysterious circumstances, and there were rumors that Peter's death may not have been entirely natural. As a ruler, Catherine was an enlightened monarch who modernized Russia. 6. Henry Dundas, 1st Viscount Melville. Henry Dundas, 1st Viscount Melville, was a towering figure in late 18th century British politics, but his legacy comes with a stain that's impossible to ignore. As the Home Secretary, Dundas was a crucial figure in the delay of the abolition of the transatlantic slave trade. While some celebrate him for his administrative skills, he's often criticized for his role in keeping the slave trade alive far longer than it might have been. Dundas, who was sympathetic to the economic interests of the British Empire, argued for a gradual abolition rather than an immediate end. His influence in the British Parliament helped delay the passage of the Abolition Act of 1807, leaving a legacy of prolonged human suffering. To this day, Dundas's role in the history of slavery remains a contentious part of British history, and discussions of his legacy are met with passionate debate. 7. David Livingstone. David Livingstone is often remembered as a hero for his explorations of Africa and his outspoken opposition to the slave trade. Yet, the celebrated missionary explorer's role in colonialism reveals a more complex story. Livingstone's travels through Africa were fueled by a desire not only to combat the slave trade, but to expand British influence in the region. His fervent belief that British colonialism was the solution to Africa's problems led him to support the spread of Western civilization and Christianity, often at the expense of local cultures. Livingstone's willingness to endorse colonial rule as a means to end slavery came at a high cost to indigenous populations, as his presence and endorsements paved the way for future British imperialism. His writings and speeches sometimes portrayed African people as needing to be saved by European civilization, an attitude that aligns with the colonial mindset. Osme Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte, the man who crowned himself Emperor of France, is remembered for his military genius and revolutionary reforms. But behind his brilliance lies a legacy of destruction and bloodshed. Napoleon's campaigns across Europe during the Napoleonic Wars are responsible for the deaths of millions of soldiers and civilians. His expansionist ambitions, which saw France dominate much of Europe, came at an enormous human cost. And while he's often credited with the Napoleonic Code, which laid the foundation for modern legal systems, his imperial rule also led to the re-establishment of slavery in France's Caribbean colonies, which had been abolished during the French Revolution. His downfall came after a disastrous invasion of Russia in 1812, where over 400,000 French soldiers perished. 9. Song Binbin. Song Binbin is one of the most infamous figures from China's Cultural Revolution, and her story is far from the heroic tale of youthful idealism often portrayed in history books. As a leader of the Red Guards, a radical group that supported Chairman Mao Zedong's policies, Song Binbin became involved in some of the most violent and troubling events of the era. The Red Guards were tasked with rooting out counter-revolutionaries, and their methods often included public humiliation, physical violence, and even murder. Song Binbin herself was directly involved in the violent denouncement of a teacher who was later killed in a brutal public display. Gisjonta Evelyn de Rothschild. Evelyn de Rothschild, a prominent financier from one of the most powerful banking dynasties in the world, led a career marked by both immense wealth and allegations of exploitation. While the Rothschild family is often lauded for its financial acumen and philanthropic contributions, Evelyn's legacy has been marred by accusations of sexual abuse and exploitation. During his tenure at N.M. Rothschild & Sons in the 1990s, several women came forward in recent years, claiming that they were subjected to harassment and abuse by Rothschild during their employment. These accusations shed light on a darker side of the world of high finance, where power dynamics and wealth can often conceal the mistreatment of those at the lower rungs of the corporate ladder. And there you have it, folks. The dark, twisty sides of some of history's most famous figures. If you enjoyed the video ride through history's hidden secrets, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping stories.